republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
January 14th, Supervisor Stan Walk will not be with us today. He's busing to Des Moines. And Steve, you had a chance to look over the agenda and claims both? I know I have.
Yes.
And the only thing I know different is to take the sheriff off because he's out of town.
Okay. Well, I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, we're just gonna call that a motion carried because I say aye too.
You second the motion?
Yes, I second the motion.
I move to approve the minutes, January 7th, meeting and claims.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And so Steve, roll call, Steve, aye, and Barb, aye.
Yep.
Motion carried. And just in time, our county attorney is here, so. You know, I forgot, I'm sorry, on claims. There was a question that Stan had. McKinley's, and you know what, I'll wait till the sheriff's here and we'll ask him. Never mind. Okay. Mark, what do you got for us today?
I do not have anything today.
Well, we're gonna be able to move right along then.
Well,
Okay.
but
I have nothing
just
either.
to let you know,
Okay.
I'm not going to be here the next 3 weeks.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Okay.
I should say, I've got a serious health condition. I don't really have
Oh,
See, now it doesn't sound so bad.
Well, I hope it's someplace warm,
Hopefully,
fine.
hopefully we won't have anything exciting that we need
Yeah.
your services for.
Well, the only thing, and I was gonna ask Lowell about that, we got that ordinance, and I had emailed you that language, did you get it?
Yeah, I'm not sorry, I didn't respond to you.
We'll check it over, so. Okay. Other than that, I don't think there's anything crucial happening in the next few weeks,
And
but
you just talked about that ordinance, they have the option to
wait, yeah.
waive the first two readings and approve it in one, or they can wait and do it the second week.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Tracy thinks when we retire, she would like to get a place in Florida. I said, I've never been there. I mean, I might not even like it, so maybe I should go down there and spend a little time there to see if, what it's like. But it's gotta be warmer than this.
Yeah, they have some nice communities down there.
Yeah, you don't have to shovel rain, so.
All righty, thank
All
you,
right,
Mark.
Thanks.
My budget's at 10.
Yes.
Okay, I'll be back here then.
Alrighty. County engineer.
What do you wanna know? Because I don't have a lot to tell you today.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'll put them out here.
Okay, I'll tell him.
But yes, Dan has not signed those, so keep that in
No,
mind.
he's not here. He
Yeah.
can't sign.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure you were aware.
Owns the two of you sign, that's all that's necessary.
Okay. Like that?
We're plowing snow. We'll be plowing snow all week.
Well, it sounds like this weekend too.
Yep. I'll be gone Thursday afternoon through probably maybe Monday, so we should be back Tuesday for the meeting. Same with the snowmobile trip. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot to discuss right now. Once we get closer to, later spring, we got some projects that are being let. We'll talk about, stuff then, but we're, getting some, estimates done on some future stuff. I know we've got our budget turned in here, but I still got DOT stuff, budget, and trying to finalize some other construction plans and programs for the DOT stuff in April, so. And I know Jim's still closing out some projects. We're still closing out the Stacyville Bridge project, and we're still closing out the paving project south of town. Closing out means we're getting contractor stuff scraped up, and we're getting paperwork to the DOT so we can do a formal closure of those projects.
Sure.
So And then once I get the one with Stacyville done, then I'll put together an estimate of what their portion of the project costs, and I'll meet with the city clerk, and if I need to go to their council meeting, I'll go to their council meeting
Okay.
and discuss it with them.
And the wind kind of died down, so that should be easy to move that snow today.
Yeah, there's a lot of
not
salt and
so
sand
frozen.
down, so it's all sticking and melting at the same time.
Yeah,
so.
I was glad I went out at 9:30 last night, shoveled for an hour, and about the time I got done, it was done snowing, so lucked out.
Yep, I don't know where you guys are at. I'm still trying to, organize or compile some costs for gravel road things. There was a presentation put on about 6 months ago at the mid-year conference, and, it discussed stabilization of gravel roads. But more to it that we're looking at is not more or less stabilizing the surface so much as the bases. You can do anything you want to the surface, but if you get the overloads and the wet underneath, you're just gonna destroy that structure on top, so. Just trying to put some estimates together for, like I said, the data we had before is not working for us, but we'll put some estimates together for what it costs per foot, per mile, whatever, for any tiling, or if we decide to do the core augering, we'll put a number to that and figure out what that costs too. But based on the research that's been done, there are some really expensive long-term fixes, and then there are some that are less expensive, and you see results quicker, and not to say that they don't last long-term, but they're a better fix for some of our lighter traveled roads. So.
It's always good to do some experimentation and
Yep.
analyze what works best.
And what's nice is that they've done a lot of this research, and some of it's even been done in Howard County. They had the engineers had a research project done that was sanctioned by Iowa State, I think it was, and the Engineers Service Bureau and DOT. So there's some stuff out there, but every road is different. So it's just trying to determine which one works best.
Proven helps.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're working on. I've got a meeting in Northwood at 10.
Okay. I don't think we have any questions.
You
for
guys all have my number, you know my email, and you know where my office is if you got any questions.
Sure. Okay.
Not a problem.
See
I'm
you
not sure
next
we'd
Tuesday.
be in line if we have a complaint though.
You'll let me know.
Stay warm this weekend, though.
I'll be up in Wisconsin, it'll be fine.
Oh, okay. Have fun.
No, I'm gonna head to Northwood.
Okay, we have a matrix resolution that we have to do every January. And basically, we do have to do it because if we don't do it and if we ever wanted to contest something according to this, we would not be able to. So, I don't think I'll read it, but I certainly have a copy if anybody wants to see it. Or would you prefer I read it? I guess it's not too long. But,
Necessary.
yeah. So do I have a motion to approve this construction evaluation resolution?
I move that we approve this construction evaluation resolution.
Okay, and I'll second that. And roll call, Steve?
Aye.
An aye for me, so that motion is carried. Is there anybody who needed to see it? Okay. And then we are asked to consider a Iowa Honeybee Day proclamation. The Iowa Honey Producers Association is sponsoring an Iowa Honeybee Day on February 13th at the state capitol to promote the importance of pollinators and in particular honeybees. And they're actually hosting a reception that day at the Capitol. They are requesting, the honeybee producers, that Mitchell County proclaim this day as Iowa Honeybee Day and issue a proclamation for it. And how bees are threatened by the use of pesticides, so we need to be more conscientious of that. And I have an extra copy if anybody would need that. But Steve, can I get a motion to pass this Iowa Honeybee Day proclamation?
And just in case, February 13th,
Yes.
2020 is the day.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I move that we pass this proclamation.
And I'll second it, and if there's no more discussion, we'll pass that motion.
Well, you need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call. Steve?
Aye.
Aye, and aye for Barb,
Thank you.
and motion carried. Okay, we're gonna talk about the county employee gross payroll report.
Yeah, you've got,
Is that a
report
case of just going over it? We don't necessarily have to.
No, it's just something we're required to do every year, so it's for the calendar year 2019 for all county employees with their gross wages. And that does get put in minutes and published in the newspaper.
Yeah, I'm gonna quick see if I got an answer back. I questioned that, Lynette Kephart makes quite a bit more than the actual administrator, but it doesn't look like I've heard that. If that was just temporary, you know, with, I know she was doing a lot extra with changeover, or if that's permanent.
Well, I think for a while it went up and then it came back down last year,
Okay.
as I recall. This is taken right from her,
Mm-hmm, yeah, otherwise I have no,
out of
I
the
make
reports.
a motion that we approve the employee gross wage report for Mitchell County.
and I'll second that. Roll call, Steve,
Aye.
and I for Barb. I guess we've already discussed, so motion carried.
And
The treasurer's semi-annual report. Okay, make sure I have the right one.
okay, that would be this.
There's a couple sheets there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from Shannon.
Anyways, I move that we approve the treasurer's semi-annual report.
Yeah, and I did already look over it before the meeting, so I will second that. And roll call, Steve,
Aye.
and I for me, and apparently we have no more discussion, so motion carried. And apparently the weed commissioner wants to attend a conference in March.
He had emailed me and asked if he could get,
Yeah, that seems like I
Approval to do
heard
that.
something about this in the past anyway. I certainly have no problem with that.
Just-
I usually think those are quite helpful even,
Gives them
So-
an idea of what's going on
yeah.
throughout the state,
So
and
we-
may give him
Just
an
probably-
idea of,
A consensus is probably fine on
Consensus.
something like this.
yeah,
So, you
I'm-
okay with it?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I am too. I think those are usually beneficial, actually. So, meetings attended. Well, we, all the supervisors had budget meetings with the sheriff, planning and zoning, sanitation, IT, mental health, community service, veterans affairs over the last 3 days. And as part of the Economic Development Hiring Committee, we interviewed 4 people over the last couple days. And then Steve and I attended a meeting at Valent, and we discussed bond refinancing, and they were tickled with that. And they did ask about shortening or Steve brought up shortening the term for some of our debt to get it off the books.
Don't forget Tony was there.
And, oh yes, well, the economic director, yes. And they also asked about some other things that we needed to refer them to OMU for, because that was in their area of expertise. Do you have anything you want to add, Steve?
Nope, it sounds like you covered that pretty good.
Okay, and then Lowell, just a heads up that down the road, Home Health might have to amend their building repairs line item because a possible roof might need replaced because of leaking.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
good,
aware.
you're aware of that. Okay, that's all I've got.
Okay, well, I attended the Upper Cedar Watershed Management Improvement Authority meeting. This is a Stanley meeting, but Stanley was busy driving school bus that night, so. Anyways, I had to attend. We approved the agenda, approved the minutes, talked about current projects. They talked about water quality legislation and funding. Anyways, Jim Erb was there, and he discussed in pretty good detail some things that the state are bringing up for the future. And unfortunately, I'm not a regular for the meeting, so all I can say is a lady by the name of Susan discussed that the NRCS will have money for 100 people for across the state of Iowa, and also may get 250 watersheds with this future money. And then there was a fellow with the name of Dean, sorry again, I don't know him, don't know his last name, discussed water treatment plant, and a $20 million cost was involved with this. And he also discussed that more federal people would be getting hired. Going down, they discussed REAP reports, and there was $12 million for funding for REAP last year, and it'll be $20 million for this future year. They discussed the Iowa Flood Center update, a Texas group. This is a group of people that come up from Texas to just see what the Flood Center did for Iowa. And they didn't make it to the meeting because they were at another meeting with one of the bigger politicians in the state. Iowa DNR update, Corey, again, don't know his last name, from the DNR. He discussed that they're planning to have more coordinators, 3 to 5 more, and I'm not for sure. They discussed that they're losing a lot of coordinators because of the benefits. The money is there, but the benefits from state to private is so much greater, so they're losing a lot of their coordinators, and that's hurting them. They also discussed that their funding was limited to impaired watersheds with funding. So apparently they're also running into a funding problem for their watersheds. Then they discussed the electronic voting for in the future, so that if in an event that one of the members of the meeting isn't there, they can vote and through electronically or over the phone, so that they would be able to have a meeting with a full board.
A lot of them have gone to that now.
This would ensure quorum for voting. That's. Anyways, that was the end of that meeting, and then I, on my own, I had the North Central Regional Emergency Planning District meeting. Called to order, approved minutes, election of officers. Travis Sheridan was nominated for chair, and Andy Buffington was nominated for vice chair, and were voted in. Hazmat team reports, there was no responses during the last quarter, or at least since the last meeting, so that they didn't have anything exciting to talk about. They got from a $10,000 grant from Alliant Energy, and that was spent on gas meters, and they will repurchase the recalibration equipment for these meters at a later date because they're quite expensive. And they also bought a thermal imaging drone, and I was quite surprised at how cheaply they bought it, because I know the one that Worth County's got over $20,000, and they seem to have got this one for just a few $1,000s.
There's a huge difference with what their capabilities are, though. I
Okay.
do know that.
Well, they were tickled to death to get this.
Sure.
New business training report. Adam Webmore and NIAC put a bid for the training. They just had no business whatsoever. Communications on the floor, didn't have anything. So that meeting ended and we went to which is the same day. This meeting happened right after the first one. This is the North Central Regional Emergency Response Commission. Again, called to order, approved the minutes and agenda. Election of officers was held again, and Travis Sheridan was nominated for the chair, and Roy Schwickerath as vice chair. And they both won their positions or were voted in. The financial report, which I gave to Lowell, it's in good, solid position leading into the end of the year, so that worked out well. They discussed about in unfinished business, the contract proposal with Mason City Fire Department, and they discussed and approved the training contract. It was a bid to NIAC, and it's a hazmat refresher. New business for year ending 20 report, audit report, it was approved. For year ending budget amendment, discussed a 6 cents per capita increase. And for insurance purposes, $2 million for general liability. And I can't remember what they had, but it was not $1,000 or something. And it was only like $300,000 or $500,000. Anyways, just to add it to $2 million was just $100 or $200 more. It wasn't much. So they passed that. That was a no-brainer to add that extra. Okay, here it is. I've got it written down. It went from $100,000 per accident. It was $4,100 cost, and for $300 more, it raised it to $1 million per accident. So, anyways, moving on, they discussed the for year 2021 budget. Motions were made. It was approved. Next meeting, April 8th, 2020. So that hits my meetings. So that's it for me on that.
Okay, I know, new hire, real quick do that, briefly. Jean Coster, an RN, has been hired PRN, so fill in as needed for now. Her starting wage will be $27 per hour, and this is by Mitchell County Home Health and Public Health.
So noted.
Thank you. And public comments. Now, I realize I put in place last week these public comment rules. I'm hoping I don't ever have to use them, but I wanted them in place so that if we do have a room full of people and everybody wants to talk, this way we have some kind of organization and you know, talking about the 3 minutes, because I know some companies only give a minute, and I thought, well, how can you hardly say what you want in that amount of time? And it doesn't mean that if we have something real controversial on the meeting, and I see that there's people that want to talk about that, I have no problem with that. I just wanted something in place in case things get out of hand, because we have had that happen in the past. And but anybody have any public comments right now before we end the meeting? Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll call the meeting adjourned.
Thank you.